Welcome to Local Everywhere. My guest today is my friend Pippa Bartolotti, and Pippa's going to talk about the brand new children's book that she wrote. So, Pippa, tell us all about it.
Oh, thank you, Cynthia, for giving me this chance. I'll just hold it up to the camera here so you can see little Toot goes to Gaza.
Mhm.
And little Toot was a real little van. I drove her from Wales, where I'm speaking to you from now, across France, across Italy, across Greece, across Turkey, across Syria, down into Egypt, and then up into Gaza. And it was a convoy, Convoy 5 for Viva Palestina. And my job was to get dental equipment out to Gaza because one of the dental hospitals had been bombed. Now I'm going back to 2010. But of course, in the bombing, they lost really nearly all their equipment. So I the word out in Wales and round and about. I said, look, I'm going to buy this little van. I need to load her up with aid to take to Gaza. And how can you all help? Well, honestly, I've got to tell you, people were amazing. I had beautiful dental equipment donated. Um, I had money donated, hundreds and hundreds donated to help me. Um, People sent all sorts of things. I mean, I would take anything from cuddly toys, which the children don't have, to sewing thread, which is also actually not allowed, but I put it in a big box and marked it deaf aids for children. Hoped it would get through. Uh, so, the I took chocolate. I took all sorts of things that were sort of random, but I knew were denied in Palestine or in Gaza anyway. So I made friends with a group of New Zealand people on the way. There were a couple of hundred trucks by the time we got to Syria on this convoy. And my New Zealand friends called my van Little Toot. And I said to them before the convoy was finished that I would do a little children's book about Little Toot. Well, it's 24 years later. Well, no, sorry, 14 years later. Finally, whilst I was going through the cancer treatment, as you know, I suddenly found the urge and the ability to paint. I couldn't write, and writing is my you know I'm an author. That's what I do. I could paint. So Little Toot here became part of my chemotherapy and radiotherapy if you like. And so I was very happy to have this moment of being able to write about this journey. I don't know if you can see that, but she was the smallest van in the whole convoy. And so I gave her a personality. And in that picture, she's trembling because all the vans are bigger and think they're much more important. As my journey with paintbrush continued, I I found that I could give her this personality. And she went over a ferry, she went up steep mountains, she was in a big party in Syria with lots and lots of friends. And so I found that I could give life to a little van and at the same time some meaning to what was going on in Palestine or in Gaza in particular. So here she is going through the Rafah gates. Now, Rafah is in the news a lot at the moment. Um, I mean, they were hard times then, Cynthia, but nothing like they are now. And Rafah, which is now just a concentration camp, being bombed. People have been told to go there and they're still being bombed. So Rafah, which we went through, was a sad little place, which they tried to offer us some hospitality, but they only had a small bottle of water in terms of hospitality. And I've always thought that meant somebody was going without that small bottle of water in order for us to have it. They were doing their best to be hospitable. We took food with us, we took lots of things with us because they knew they wouldn't be able to feed us because the Gazans are only allowed something like 2,000 calories a day or less. They are on a diet. The Israeli state has put them on a diet which is just above malnutrition levels. And that was way back in 2010. So Little Toot made this journey, and I put the flags of all the countries up so that the children reading this can learn to identify some of the countries that are going through. And in the end, um, she stayed. So she was
She did
small.
what?
She was just right for a little Palestinian family, and I left her there. Um, so she made people happy. She found a use. I had spray painted in very neat letters coexist all over her because, back then, Cynthia, I thought there was a chance, a real chance that these people could learn to coexist. But it turns out I was being way too optimistic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I did you self-publish? How did you publish it?
Yeah, I did self-publish because really I'm not in the mood for writing off to all sorts of publishers to and agents, etc. Didn't expect it to do more than a few close family friends, that kind of thing. But now this little book is a fundraiser, so I sell it for £5 or $5 out in the States, and half of that goes towards medical aid for Palestinians, which is a well-known and trusted charity out in that area. So we're in the process of, selling books to all who are interested and, to gathering money to send us aid. I'll do another print run to be delivered in the United States for when I come over there because there's people asking. I say, no, I'm not going to send you. It costs me more import postage than I would be able to, than it costs to have the book printed. So I'll do another print run for delivery at the United States. But, there's a nice little website called Mixam, and you can upload all your pictures and your text and what have you onto there, and they will print the booklet. They're so reasonable, and this means that people like me, who will probably only ever do short runs, can get a crack at it, and as long as we do our own publicity and spread the word, basically through social media and through interviews with people like you, Cynthia, who help it along. This means that we get a little bit more visibility, if you like,
Mm-hmm.
and the cause now is desperate. Of course, I mean, we sit in our comfortable homes and other people are just terrified even in a plastic tent, nice middle class people like us who not that we're necessarily all nice, but we're comfortable middle class people with our home comforts, and to lose everything in the blink of an eye is is such an awful thought. I mean, war is like that, um, but this isn't really a war. 2 women are killed every hour in Gaza. Um, it is really a women's genocide as much as anything else. And why are the women killed? Because they can reproduce. Sorry, guys, you're only a little part of the equation. It's the women who do the work here, and this is why women are targeted in this brutal way, and 100% of them are unarmed. Uh, it's a tragedy. It is a genocide, but particularly women.
So that book is geared towards children, right?
It is, yes,
Okay.
yes,
So when a child reads this, who who might not fully understand what's going on in Gaza, does this help a child's understanding of the terrible situations that they have to live under?
yes. It's very gentle. I mean, it in no way possibly will I ask a child to look at the reality of what's going on, but it's very gentle because as they go on the journey, uh, things are collected. They don't have very many things in Gaza. What can our friends give us? They can give us medicines. They can give us chocolate. They can give us toys, the sort of things that children might relate to. And so little two gets loaded up with all these things because the people in Gaza don't have them. And so there's this sort of gentle introduction to the fact that here's a country which is being um, uh, totally uh, 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 blockaded, shall we say, and which isn't allowed the simple things like sewing thread or um, chocolate or spices or any of the things that are culturally important to a country. Um, yes, every country has its cultural uh, its cultural ways, its cultural cooking,
Right.
and national dress even. To not have sewing thread, so you can't make or repair your clothes is extremely harsh. To not have the spices that would enhance your cooking, just like even salt and pepper. No cinnamon, no nutmeg, nothing that is allowed in that way. As well as things like building materials, they're not allowed in either. So, you know, uh, I haven't covered that side of things. But the fact is that just by gentle introduction, I'm trying to say to the children who read the book, we're taking these things over because they don't have them there. And actually, on the back, I wrote at the time this book was published, the people of Gaza need this aid more than ever. So that's the bit that, sort of relates it to the present day, if you like. But there's enough children being traumatized out there without traumatizing anymore here or in America over this. We must just search for compassion and a political end to it.
So has your book been selling both in the United States and in Europe?
I've been selling it in Europe and New Zealand, and mostly in Britain because that's where I am and where most of my contacts are right now. I've said in the United States, hang fire, people. I'll tell you when I'm over there and I'm publishing over there, and then we can send at minimal postage costs because
Right.
otherwise it gets out of control. So that's why I'll do a different run for the United States, and hopefully our local bookshops will stock a few.
Uh-huh. There's a bookstore in Delmar, right?
Yes, I've forgotten what it's called briefly, but they have carried two of my previous books.
Oh,
So yeah, so
good.
and I have a third novel coming out on the 25th. Oh, good Lord, that's only 4 days away. I mean, it'll go on to Amazon and Waterstones, and I won't even see it. That's the trouble when your publisher does it. You're the last to see the book.
What's it about?
Um, well, it's part two of a trilogy, um, which hopefully uh, will resonate because in that particular book, weirdly, I my female character travels to the Middle East, and there is a kind of uneasy but real solution. But it's based on a lot of things which haven't yet happened, and it is in the middle of a climate change that is biting. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to book two coming out right at this moment, which hopefully shows some solutions, some different attitudes to justice, and some different ways that societies can set themselves up in times of hardship and of less food and less water, where sharing is really important, not killing the other person because they want to share, but actually overtly sharing as a societal importance.
So, how long have you been writing?
Oh, well, I was always some kind of writer, but anyone can start a book, but not everyone can finish one. And
Mhm.
so I finished uh, in about 2014, I think I finished my first book, but I didn't send it to be published because I wasn't happy with it. I thought my style wasn't mature enough. And so I wrote three more books without publishing them because I wasn't convinced. My kids thought they were brilliant. They weren't children's, but my children were then adults. And they said, "Oh, go on, mum, publish." I said, "No, no, I'm not ready." But the first book I felt able to publish was one called Barbarian, which is the story of a 15-year-old girl who is making her way again through climate change. Because climate change and human rights are the two things that drive me. That's why I'm involved with Palestine. And I'll tell you this, I mean, I can't tell you what year it was, but I watched a little clip, probably on YouTube, oh, years and years ago. And it was of a man with a bucket of water being arrested at the point of a gun. This was a Palestinian man, and they were Israeli guns. He was being arrested and dragged away from his children because he had a bucket of Israeli water.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and that was the thing that made me sit up and take notice. I've seen terrible things since then, but that was the one thing. How can you say it's Israeli water? Water is a right. It's a human right. It's not yours or mine. It's water. It belongs to the planet, and we all should have equal rights to it. So that's what got me going. And not long after that, I got a little bit involved with Palestine Solidarity Campaign, and I joined the Green Party, became deputy leader, and at that time, somebody just emailed me and said, there's a convoy going to Gaza, and I thought that's what I need to do. Um, so I just signed up. Um, I bought this little van. Uh, the guys who were giving me insurance, I said I only need insurance for a week because then I'm leaving the country. They said, "It's all right. We'll just cover you for a week, no charge." Um, and everybody was kind and generous right the way through. When I got to Syria, I needed a pair of shoes, but I went into a shoe shop and selected a pair, and the lady wouldn't let me pay because I was on the Palestinian convoy taking things to Gaza. This was in Latakia in the south of Syria. So all the way across, I just experienced generosity after generosity. I tried to buy a new rucksack. I tried, they wouldn't let me pay for it. So I was all the time, amazed at, oh, the Syrians were wonderful. They fed us every night when we were negotiating to get into Gaza, because Israel didn't want us to go. Um, the Syrians fed us, and there were about 300 of us at that stage, and they fed us every night. So, it was a wonderful experience, even if probably the saddest moment of my life was leaving Gaza.
Mm.
And because I could leave and they couldn't. And it was a kind of tragedy in my life that I look back on and think, how can it be so unfair? How can the world be so unjust? These people have to stay in this land without enough food and enough to drink, and they are not allowed to travel. Students aren't allowed to go to overseas universities. Football team, the Olympic athletes not allowed to travel. It's it's the tragedy of our times.
Would you say that the arts are a good vehicle for social commentary?
Yes, I think they are actually. That's quite a good question. Um, on both sides of the coin, they are. As you know, there's a BDS movement, the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, and that is also including the arts. And it's rather like when we ended apartheid in South Africa, boycotting the sports, the cultural events, all drew attention and put pressure on the government to change, and it worked. And here it's something similar, if a million percent more brutal. Um, so we have pressure on the arts not to perform in Israel at the moment, but at the same time, and I know a lot of fantastic stuff's going on in America right now, where people, the performing arts, are all drawing attention to Palestine, raising money for medical aid, and so on. So I have to say that the arts are an excellent vehicle for awareness raising, for education, but also they can be used as a tool in boycotting. And talking about boycotting, Starbucks is one of the Zionist regimes that we are boycotting. And I think since October the 7th in America, Starbucks lost $11 billion in trade.
Wow.
So boycotting does work.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I went into a Starbucks here. I didn't go into it. I was in an area where there were lots of vendors of food and drink, and no one was at Starbucks. They're having to close down in certain areas because the campaign is gathering speed, and people are saying, "Well, I've got a choice. I can buy coffee anywhere. I don't have to go to Starbucks," and they don't. McDonald's is another one, which is funding certain aspects of Zionism. And they haven't published their figures yet, but I do know that, if you put your mind to it, you can boycott and help the Palestinians at the same time.
So, give us the uh, what your book is all about and how people can get it.
Well, really, the only way right now is to write to me or to email me, and I will personally wrap it and send it. But I have to say, in America, as I said before, I'm hanging fire until I get there so that I can save a lot of money on postage. And the more money I save on postage, the less people will have to pay, and the more can be sent for medical aid for these dear Palestinians who are suffering so much right now.
So what's the name of the book, your book again?
Here it is, Little Toot Goes to Gaza. So
Great.
there she is, Little Toot. She wasn't that color, that's for the children. But she starts off, I can just show you here. She starts off looking very sorry for herself, and these people who drive her give her a coat of paint and make her all smart and for her journey. So I hope it raises awareness. That's my main. The money I gather won't be too much, but awareness is the most important thing. And I think with your help, we can spread that too.
Okay, great. So Pippa, be safe. You've been listening to Pippa Bartolotti, and I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is Local Everywhere. And if you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Pippa, we will be talking soon. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Cynthia.